Meeting's now on live stream.
Yep. So for all those who have joined in, we are just waiting for attendees and candidates to join the meeting, and we'll kick off right on the button of 6:30. We've certainly got very close to a quorum of candidates, and a quorum, of course, is as many people who show up, having said they would. So I might just turn off the waiting room so I don't have to keep admitting people.
Give me a password, but it's not telling me to. Goodness me, look at them. Oh.
No, you're right.
So we're up to 31. So that's good. So in a couple of minutes, I'm going to mute everybody and then just do a bit of an intro so that if it all seems like to have gone silent and all you hear is me, well, that's by design, not by accident. So we might just kick off and get underway now. So good evening, everyone, and welcome to the 2020 Gungahlin Community Election Forum. My name is Peter Alford. I'm the president of the Community Council here in Gungahlin, and I'll be your host for this evening's entertainment. We have 13 candidates who've indicated they will be attending the forum today, and I'll be shortly asking each of them to give us a little bit of an overview of who they are and what they see as the key issues and opportunities and for Gungahlin and what they would do about that if they were elected. And that'll be in a simple alphabetical order based on first initial and surname. It kind of doesn't really matter what the order is, but the key is we'll get through all of those fairly quickly in about 4 minutes per speaker. So I had threatened to candidates it would only be 3 minutes per speaker, but the numbers are manageable, and I think we can get through all 13 candidates on 4 minutes a speaker. What I'll do is I'll unmute that speaker and then they can speak, and then of course I have the ultimate control. I can mute them again and at the 4 minute mark. So it's one of the advantages of being online. We've had a few questions supplied online. If people are willing to put them in the chat window, we'll try and keep an eye out for them. But once we get through the introductions and the 4 minutes per candidate, we'll then ask everyone participating to provide questions. We do ask that the questions are directed to a candidate or to a party, or can be easily answered with a simple show of hands. And the reason for that is if you ask for every candidate's view on a particular topic, every question will take a very long time to answer. So we're going to try and manage that through the evening. And what we may end up doing is ask a question. If there's anyone who needs or feels the need for a right or reply, we'll do that and play it a little bit by ear. All right, well, I want to just make sure that we are well organised here. I can see that we have a good crowd of people on, and the first candidate I will ask to speak will be Andrew Braddock. So first name with A, surname beginning with B, so he wins the prize there for having the first cab off the rank. So without any further ado, I'll ask Andrew to unmute himself and ask Andrew to perhaps give a bit of an overview of what Andrew Braddock's all about and why he would be a good candidate to be elected for the seat of Werribee.
Thanks, Peter. And actually, it's a benefit of having such a name starting with B. I remember being in school, it was always seemed to be the worst thing because the teacher always picked me first for any task, but thank you. Anyway, leading off, I'm Andrew Braddock. I am the Leeds candidate for Greens for Werribee. And I live in Bonner, and I really love the local community and school here. And I think Gungahlin is such a great place for people of all ages. I've also been active in the local community. I've worked on the Gungahlin Community Council. I've been on the board of my local kids' primary school. I've been involved in a couple of local charities here. And what I've seen is, whilst our community is growing rapidly, the investment has not kept pace with the number of people that we actually have here in Gungahlin. Critical pieces of infrastructure and green space are missing. For example, here in Gungahlin, we actually have the lowest rate of tree coverage in the ACT at just 4%. So there's many opportunities to improve Gungahlin, that's why I'm running for the Greens here for Yerrabee. And what does our plan for Gungahlin involve? Well, firstly, it's about ensuring each and every suburb has a 30% tree coverage target. So taking us from our existing 4% and cranking that right up to 30%, planting and maintaining those trees so each of our suburbs is more livable and more comfortable to live in. It's also about building a large multi-purpose community centre in the middle of Gungahlin Town Centre. By large, I mean something that can accommodate up to 2,000 people. This is something that's been missing for wide sections of our community and something the Greens have been calling for a while now. It's also about investing in Yerrabee Pond. This much loved community asset can be improved through widening and lighting the path so it's accessible at all hours for more of our community. It's also about upgrading our local community infrastructure. The small things like bus stops, bike paths, playgrounds and parks. It's also the big things like expanding our light rail network to include Tuggeranong, Belconnen, Canberra Airport, those places where Gungahlin residents are looking to actually commute to their work to. And finally, it's about expanding Gungahlin CRT campus to provide more of that technical and vocational training right here in Gungahlin. Also, we need to ensure the community's needs are put first as we build out Gungahlin, or Gungahlin Town Centre East. The government's plan drastically cuts the office space, reducing the potential for employment here in Gungahlin. There's also minimal space for badly needed community facilities. For example, we have no aged care facilities here in Gungahlin, and this is something we need to look to address. What is happening is the government is effectively handing the land over to developers to build more apartment towers. Something this community has made very clear that it does not want. And if elected, I promise I would fight this with all my might. I fought against the residential towers being built on top of what was meant to be an office park. I fought against those apartment towers because they were towering over my children's childcare centre. I don't want to see the opinions of Gungahlin residents so readily thrown aside. There are 5 representatives for Yerrabee from the old parties, but how many of them actually represent the community rather than their party's interests? I'm not a politician or a party hack. I'm the product of a public school education, a public servant who's just looking to build a better future for mine and everyone's kids. So there is an alternative. A vote for the Greens is a vote for an alternative voice to represent you and to build a better normal. So thank you. And I'll hand it back to you, Peter.
Well done, Andrew, and thank you very much for being on time. That's really much appreciated. And good points. And it's always good to see a GCC alumni moving on to the next and greatest thing. So next in my list, I have Alistair Coe. Now, Alistair, as I understand it, is juggling a couple of commitments and probably won't be on for the whole evening, but fortunately his name gives him the next cab off the rank. So Alistair, over to you.
Hello, Peter and team. Thank you very much for giving me and the entire list of candidates this opportunity to share with you and, of course, to share with the Gungahlin community our vision for Canberra and specifically for the district of Gungahlin. I've been fortunate to cumulatively live in Gungahlin for 20 years, living in the Gungahlin suburb of Nichols. I first moved there back in 1997, and I've lived in a few houses in Nichols and now living there with my wife and 2 kids. As the leader of the Canberra Liberals, I'm determined to do everything I can to make Canberra the best place to live, work and raise a family. Gungahlin is a good place, but I want to make it even better. It means making sure that it does have the green space that so much of the rest of Canberra enjoys. It means making sure that we don't suffer from the same planning bungles that we've suffered from year after year. It means making sure that there are jobs in Gungahlin Town Centre rather than just being a commuter area. And of course, the cost of living is a real issue for many people in Gungahlin. Obviously, the cost of land is astronomical, but also the lack of land is a real problem. The lack of affordable rental properties, rates going through the roof, and various other fees and charges are putting a real impost on Canberra families. We're committed to freezing residential rates for 4 years. This is a small commitment in terms of government revenue, but a significant commitment in terms of families' outgoings. It's a very important commitment that I think is absolutely essential for Gungahlin families. The transport bungles that we've seen time and time again in the ACT, but particularly in Gungahlin, really are unfathomable. How can it be that the very planning issues, the very road issues that I remember chatting with Alan Curlin about in 2007 and 2008 and 2009 still get repeated time and time again? Whether you're talking about the GDE or Horse Park Drive, Williams Slim, Gundaroo Drive, etc., etc. It just seems that these mistakes keep getting made over and over again. Despite the fact that the government's been bringing in record revenue and has been raking in money from land sales, stamp duty and rates, they seem to be surprised that there is a big population in Gungahlin that needs infrastructure and needs services. We're committed to improving education standards across the ACT. And that means making sure that we're planning ahead for Gungahlin schools. Again, it seems the government is surprised that Amaroo's at capacity, that Harrison's at capacity, that these schools are at capacity. It just shouldn't be that way. Why is it there was no foresight about what would happen to kids at Franklin after they finished year 2? These are the sorts of stuff-ups that have happened over and over again. We're determined to make sure that the ACT government is on the same side as you are, that it actually works for your family. We want to make sure that we have a family-centred approach to living in Gungahlin, to make sure that there are jobs, to make sure there's a green space, to make sure that the pressure is off Canberra families. We're committed to doing everything we can to make Gungahlin the best place to live, work and raise a family.
Spectacular timing, Alistair, like a clear, the consummate professional that you are. So thank you very much. Oh, there's my warning telling me
Thanks.
that. Thanks very much, Alistair, and I'm sure the rest of the team will do a great job with any further Q&A. Thanks very much.
You bet. Thanks.
From some of the big parties, we now move to Bethany Williams, representing the Canberra Progressives. And if Bethany would, I'll invite you to unmute your microphone, and over to you.
Excellent. Thanks for the introduction. My name's Bethany Williams, and I'm very bad with technology and losing things all over the place. So I live in Crace. I've been here for 6.5 years, and before that I lived in Cook. The reason why I'm standing for election is because I'm fed up with the same old duopolies in our government. And I wanted to be part of a team that could provide an alternative to the two major parties this election. So I decided to stand with the Canberra Progressives, who are a party that sit pretty much smack bang in the centre with a slight leaning towards the left. And we want to bring back community engagement and bring back the voices of the community into the government. We're basically a communitarian party. So what that means is that we want to listen to what the community's got to say, and we want to make sure that all government decision making is made with the community's voices in mind. So that's primarily what we bring. The issue specifically to the Gungahlin region that I will be very passionate about if I was to be elected One of them is about making sure there's land made available to build more aged care homes. As of September last year, there were 460 aged care, older people waiting for an aged care home. And I've discussed with some locals that apparently Lendlease was given allocated to build 120 beds, and they put in a tender for the land at the Gold Creek Homestead, and unfortunately it was rejected. Now it's upset a lot of the older people in the community who want to have somewhere that they can go to live in Gungahlin, but they don't want to have to go over to the south side. So that's something I'll be looking into if I'm elected. The other thing that I know that Gungahlin needs is a new police station. The police station that we've got at the moment is too small. It's not fit for purpose. In having discussions with AFP people, that it's basically got the room where the rooms are, for example, the perpetrator might be interviewed in one room and the victim may have to walk past that room to get into it. So that's something that we look at fixing up, is seeing if we can get funding to build a new police station in Gungahlin. We need a new hospital on the north side. We're one of the fastest growing regions in Australia, and we need to have a hospital on this side of town. There is no paediatric unit at Calvary Hospital. So when kids have an emergency, they have to go all the way down to Woden to the Canberra Hospital. And I don't think that's really good enough. So that's one of the things we would like to look into, see if there is the funding to maybe build a hospital on the north side. I would also look at supporting to have the new tennis centre facility. There's no tennis clubs, community tennis clubs in the Gungahlin region. And so I think we need to look at building, I know that Tennis ACT have proposed to have some new courts built. So I would like to support that and see what the ACT government are doing with that. And I'd like to make sure that the ACT government, or if it's re-elected, fulfills its election promise to build a large community centre. I'm with Andrew on that. We need to make sure there's one, and it's built in consultation with different cohorts in the community to make sure it's fit for purpose as well. So I'd really welcome co-design in building that, but I want to make sure that it's not just an election promise and that it's something that actually happens. So if you vote for me this election in Gungahlin, basically you're voting for someone who's prepared to stick a neck out and prepared to push, prod and advocate to make sure that the community's looked after.
Thank you very much, Bethany. And the piercing noise you hear in the background is me just trying to keep this rolling well, and that's gone really well so far. Thank you very much, Bethany.
Thank you.
And while on independence, our own David Pollard is the next candidate who will have 4 minutes.
Hi, thanks, Peter. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for coming. Yeah, Peter referred to me just then as our own David Pollard. I have been fortunate to serve as the Treasurer for the Gungahlin Community Council for the last 5 years, but have recently stepped down. So my name's David Pollard, and I'm actually from a political party called David Pollard Independent. So I ran in 2016 as an independent, and for a first-time independent, did reasonably well, but it became apparent that it's quite difficult to win from the ungrouped column. So one of the things that I'm doing for this election is registering my party, and I will have a running mate so that I've got my own column. So don't look for me in the right-hand column. I'll be on the ballot paper with the rest of the parties. So the Gungahlin Community Council put out some expectations for candidates, and I must say it's perfect expectations, but a little bit disappointing that we even need to list those as expectations. We expect that our Yerrabi MLAs be advocates for our issues and be accountable for decisions. That's kind of the basics of the job. So yeah, I fully support what the Gungahlin Community Council is looking for in its representatives there. I was asked at a forum the other day for minor parties what change I would like to see in Canberra over the next few years. And there's lots of smaller changes, there's lots of bigger picture changes as well. Things like a new police station out in Gungahlin, indoor sports centre in Gungahlin, second college in Gungahlin, a continued focus on environmental issues and climate change. But the thing for me is that in a few years' time, I want everybody in Canberra to be able to say, I trust the government. And I want the government to be able to say, I trust the people. So mutual trust was what I want to see change from our relationship with our politicians. So I've got, let me just see. Oh, okay, good. Minor parties and independents. So as I said, I am a minor party who is also an independent. And the thing that I want you to know as you listen to all the candidates tonight, if you decide that you would like to support minor parties or independents, the very important thing is that they need you to vote for them before any and all major party candidates, before any Labor, Liberals or Greens. Once you do send your vote to Labor, Liberals or Greens, that's where it's going to stay with the way that the Hare-Clark system works. And finally, this online forum that the Gungahlin Community Council has organised is a fantastic thing, especially given all the COVID restrictions. However, if you are looking to engage physically with some candidates, there will be a minor party showcase. We've had a South Side showcase. We're looking at a North Side showcase. It will be at the Gungahlin Club on the 28th of September in the evening. Details to come. Thanks.
Man versus mute button. All right, thank you very much, David. Always good to, as I say, have an alumni on the crew. Our next speaker is Jacob Varakathu from the Canberra Liberals. Jacob, you unmuted and ready to roll?
Yes.
Great.
Hi, Peter.
Hey.
Thanks, Peter. Yeah, I'm Jacob Varakathu, the Liberal candidate for the Arabi electorate. Thank you for the opportunity and thanks everyone. Look, I've served in the GCC board along with Peter a few years back as a secretary and then later on as a public officer for many, many years. I was also involved actively with the Gungahlin local soccer club, Gungahlin United Football Club, and also involved in many local charity organizations. Look, this election is very important and crucial for the future of the ACT and particularly for the future of Gungahlin. I've been living in Gungahlin for the last 14 years, and I've been in Canberra for the last 22 years. And me and my family chose to live in Gungahlin because it's a beautiful place. It's a fantastic place, but there are more things to be done to make Gungahlin more better and life more easier. There are a lot of issues and there are a lot of things that need to be done. But prior to going into the details of what facility is required, let me just tell you to everyone, as a member, if I'm elected, the commitment I'm giving into the people in this electorate is I'll be approachable and accessible. And as a local member, the residents, the community, the constituents need to contact their members without having to go through all those formalities. But the commitment I'm giving to the people in this electorate is I'll be approachable and accessible, and I'll make sure at least once in a month, I'll have a mobile office at every shopping center. So when the local residents, when they go to the shops, they can see the local mobile. Yes, here is our local member. And they can share their concerns and issues. So I'll make myself available at least once in a month, the mobile office, and we'll go through every shopping center so people can approach as their local member. That's the commitment I'm giving. With regard to the issues, of course, Gungahlin, there are a lot of requirements that need to be done. The previous talkers mentioned about facilities, aged care facility. Of course, Gungahlin, we don't have an aged care facility in Gungahlin. It's a major issue. And I'm hearing from every day from people in this electorate. We need to have aged care facility in Gungahlin. We need to have an indoor sports facility in Gungahlin. There's no indoor sports facility in Gungahlin. And also, of course, it's a large multicultural community we have in Gungahlin. We need to have a community center. We need to have a community center, a large community center facility. There are a few other things as well. mainly the Gungahlin Town Centre and the traffic congestion, which I often hear from people. I mean, people these days bluntly saying that they hate going to Gungahlin because there's not enough parking facility and getting through to Gungahlin is a bit of a nightmare. So people prefer going to KC Market Town or Amaru shops, and people don't want to go to Gungahlin. There are a lot of roads need to be duplicated to get to Gungahlin. For example, the GDE from the John Paul College to all the way to the Lakes Club, that road, it's a single lane road. Mirabai Drive, the Gun Road Drive. So there are a lot of roads that need to be duplicated, more suburbs coming. You know, we got Taylor coming up, Jack as stage 2, Throsby is developing, but the infrastructure facility is very limited. So traffic congestion, you know, frequent bus services, these other facilities, and overall cost of living pressure. And if I'm elected, definitely I'll make sure that, you know, we'll freeze our rates for next 4 years and to make people's life easier. So thank you so much once again. And yeah, thank you, Peter.
No worries, Jacob. Thank you very much. All right. I'm starting to realise it seems almost like it was a prerequisite to be a candidate for Euroby that you haven't been involved with the Gungahlin Community Council. And our next speaker, James Milligan, also from the Canberra Liberals, is also ex-GCC.
Yeah, well, thank you, Peter, and it's certainly good to be here tonight. Once again, thank you to the Gungahlin Community Council for everything that you've done. It's just a shame that we're doing it via Zoom, but it's good to be here. And look, as a long-time Gungahlin resident, a former business owner and a dad, I'm passionate about the community. I have a strong desire for my community to do all I can to introduce a set of values, common sense, a bit of personal responsibility and freedoms in everything that we do. Now, since being elected in 2016, I've made a concerted effort to do politics differently over the last 4 years. And I'm sure many of you hopefully will have been well aware of the community barbecues that I've done, videos I've done back in 5 promoting local businesses, holding hot chocolates, as well as pretty much sports days and pretty much doing anything that I can to engage with the community as a local member. Now, I have fought on a few key issues in this electorate. Firstly, the effects that light rail construction has had on businesses and fighting for better services, particularly for Mitchell. Just recently, I've run campaigns on illegal dumping, finding out what the root causes are behind legal dumping, as well as looking at what enforcement needs to occur and also what are the solutions that we could implement. Parking issues. We've had many parking issues right across Yerraby. One in particular is Palmerston Shops. I was able to put a motion through the Assembly and call on the government to do and implement a larger parking space at Palmerston Shops, and it's glad that that was successful. It's been done now. We have parking issues, obviously pick up and drop off issues at our schools, Gungahlin Town Centre, Yerraby Pond, and even along Anthony Rolfe Drive. Other issues that I've campaigned on, particularly the delayed haul bike track. That's been a saga going for many years now. We're campaigning on bringing back school buses after the government had axed many of the dedicated school buses, been highlighting the lack of police resources also here in Yerraby. And of course, with my shadow portfolio, sport and recreation, been highlighting the lack of facilities that we do have here in Yerraby in terms of sport and recreation facilities. Now, I'm really proud about what we have done for my portfolio. Like I said, I've done politics differently. As you could probably see, positioned well behind me here, we have a couple of banners. Find Your Game, which is our sport and rec initiative, and also improving the outcomes for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples. Now, we launched our Indigenous Affairs policies and all our 18 initiatives back in February of last year, and it was fully endorsed by the community leaders and also local elders. Sport and Rec, we launched November of last year. Now that covers a 10-year plan to increase participation in sport and recreation, which covers over 30 different initiatives. And just yesterday, I was really proud to announce that the Canberra Liberals will introduced Clontarf to the ACT. Now, Clontarf is an organisation, is an academy that sets up shop in a secondary high school, and it helps Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander students attend and complete year 12 and live healthy lives. Really proud about that. The community is right behind it. And I'd like the opportunity, obviously, to see that happen post this October. Now, obviously, we've done politics differently. We have really worked with the community in terms of finding out what the key issues are and developing our own solutions for them, which we have presented and put out there. Now, what it really needs is obviously for a Canberra Liberals government this October. So then we can turn all these ideas into a reality. So we are really dedicated. The Canberra Liberals are dedicated to make sure that Canberra is the best place to live, work and raise a family.
Thank you very much, James. Yes, I've certainly been involved in a couple of those programs you've run, and thank you for that. Our next speaker is also with the Canberra Liberals, Dr. Krishna Nadampally. You'll need to unmute. If I can find you, unmute. All right. Are you there, Krishna?
Yes, okay. Oh, yeah, thanks, Peter. Thanks to GCC for giving this opportunity for all the candidates to express. My name is Dr. Krishna Nadimpalli. I'm living in Amaru for the last 14 years and raised my family. I retired recently as a scientist and an adjunct associate professor. I'm actively promoting inclusiveness and celebrate diversity among first generation Australians. This is demonstrated with many honors I received, including the Medal of the Order of Australia last year. As an example of my community work in Gungahlin, I am the founder and chair of an association aiming to build a community temple facility in Moncrief. I gave my presentations at GCC a couple of occasions, and recently the DA process is completed. I have raised $1 million in assets by engaging local communities. That's what I normally do. Just that was an example. My priorities are aligned with Canberra Liberals, and my commitments as a future MLA includes, there are many, but I cannot cover everything. And other speakers are saying, yes, I agree with them. Yeah, my priorities and my commitment that includes the planning issues, the safer communities, promoting multiculturalism, and facilities for senior citizens. One is that Gungahlin has several planning issues and several planning bungles, as Alistair was mentioning, which need to be addressed as a priority. Compared to other town centers across Canberra, Gungahlin Town Centre is not well planned as an attractive business environment. My commitment is to bring economic diversity to stimulate business growth in the Gungahlin Town Centre and create more jobs. This can be achieved through review of the current planning arrangements and stop the loss of commercial space. It needs an extensive consultation with the stakeholders before preparing an action plan. Another issue is crime rate in Gungahlin district is increasing. My commitment is to increase the police presence and review the social policies contributing to the crime in whole ACT. And yesterday, just giving you a heads up that yesterday, 3 teens broke my car window and stolen a bag of my volunteer in Palmerston. And another thing is with Casey Lamb, what is happening, we know. So these are the things we need to be, is demonstrating or showing, telling us that the crime rate is increasing in Gungahlin and overall in ACT. And there are other things. In light of the safer communities, my commitment is to get more streetlights at recreational areas like in Arabi Pond and also along Mirabee Drive for cyclists, because there is new areas have added up on to Mirabee Drive and there are no streetlights and so many people are commuting by cycles and in the dark it is getting very hard there. And Gungahlin has unique cultural diversity. 44% of citizens have their parents born overseas. I am committed to promote inclusiveness through organizing cultural and sports events, enabling communities to build their own facilities, and prepare a business case to build a cultural center, which is not just a community hall or just a community center. It needs to bring so many different diverse groups there, like senior citizens club and the ethnic clubs and ethnic the associations for having their office, or means you can bring a lot of things into one place so that all the communities are interacting and building their networks, and the inclusiveness and participation is growing in Gungahlin. And Gungahlin lacks enough aged care facilities. As Jacob was mentioning, only two, one in Ngunnawal and one in Nichols. My commitment is to review the policies related to senior citizens care with dignity and respect. Also, I would conduct a consultation with the residents of the existing aged care facilities in Gungahlin to identify what is needed and how can we achieve this. And
Dr.
Gungahlin,
Krishna, you're at 4 minutes now, I'm afraid.
sorry. Yeah, with my 30 years of experience as a scientist and passion for community, I am to bring a positive change to Gungahlin and its residents. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Dr. Krishna. And staying with the Canberra Liberals theme, our next speaker is Leanne Castley. Leanne, are you unmuted
Yes,
and ready to go?
I am. Hi, Peter. Thanks for having me. So it's great to be here again. I remember doing this last year for the federal election, and I can't tell you how excited I am to be part of this ACT election process. So I grew up on the north side of Canberra. I've watched Gungahlin grow from nothing. I remember when I was 18, my boss generously paid for all of his employees to catch a hot air balloon, and we landed on Gold Creek Village before it was built. And I remember it like it was yesterday. And I look at it often and think, I'm amazed at the growth that has happened out here. But not only that, I had my kids go to Gungahlin High School, Maribyrnong Primary. I've lived in Gungahlin. We have to remember that that's also part of our electorate. And I'm thrilled to have the entire electorate as part of my world, so to speak. So I've lived in Palmerston, and I'm now in Ngunnawal, and I've been out in the area in Gungahlin for the last 6 years. And like everybody else has said, we all love it. It is great. And we all are keen to ensure that it gets better. But just, a little bit about me. First and foremost, I'm a mum. I'm also an IT project manager. I'm a muso. I'm a working musician when COVID isn't, shutting us all in. And I've been a business owner as well. And I'm really keen to ensure that we've got a couple of major things that are important for our electorate that I want to see happen. I'm a Liberal through and through. I'm all about being great with money and making sure we're working. So if you want a job, I want to make sure that there is a job available for you. And if you're willing to work, then let's get you working. And as I've been doing a little bit of phone canvassing and meeting people. We've been doing shops visits and door knocking and all of that sort of stuff, and getting out in the community. The important things to the people I've been speaking to are really quite back to basics. Fix my footpaths. Why are my streetlights not on? Why did we get promised sound barriers for Palmerston residents in Gundaroo Drive and it not occur? And all of these things have been ignored, and I'm a little bit tired of it. I'm not a seasoned politician by any stretch of the imagination. I'm just a local resident who's fed up and wants to make a change. I believe that, we're paying exorbitant rates and they needs to be spent wisely. So I fully support our rates freeze that the Alistair and the Canberra Liberals have promised. I think that's an amazing game changer for families. I'm a single mum, and I understand what it's like to feel the pinch financially. As with everybody else, we need better health services in Gungahlin, which will also help the Gungahlin and Gungahlin residents. We need, education. My daughter is in Gungahlin College at the moment, and I agree that our education standards need to be improved. Our teachers need better support, and I was thrilled to hear about the mindfulness scenario that came out this morning, there was a bit of a blast on that. Other things that are important to residents are our green spaces. There are not enough trees. Isn't it a great time of the year with all of the blossoms coming out? However, I believe there could be more. My local park is a rundown basketball ring. It's not good enough. If I had little children and I needed to get them out and play somewhere, there's nothing very close that I can do that with. And I would like to see those things improved. Reducing the cost of living for families and strengthening the economy so that there are jobs. And that's it. That's who I am, and that's what I stand for. So I hope I've got your vote in October. Thank you, Peter. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Thank you. The community thanks you for participating in our forum. Our next speaker is Mainul Huq, another GCC alumni from the Canberra, the ACT Greens. Mainul?
Hey, thanks, Peter. Good evening, everybody. My name is Mainul Huq, as Peter said. A little bit of intro about myself. I'm a father. I have a lovely wife. I'm an economist by profession. My day job is a public servant. And above all, I'm a community worker. I've been, in addition to my day job, public service economic job, involved in community activities for the last 30 years almost in Canberra, and have done a few things in my life. One of the recent things that I've done, I have led the development of the multi-million-dollar Gungahlin Mosque project that I have completed about a year ago. Well, we opened the building in 2017, but I stepped down last year. In terms of my attachment with Gungahlin, I moved to Gungahlin about more than 20 years ago. I've lived in Palmerston for the last many years, for about 15 years. And the last almost 10 years or so, I've been living in Nichols. So I've seen Gungahlin, how it has been growing from basically a paddock to what it has become. But there are a lot more to be done, and a lot more could be done and should be done. The fundamental issue of this electorate is providing services that community needs and community desires and community should have. Few things that I will be doing if I'm honored with your support and with your vote, and if you do give me that the trust, I will be working to plant more trees. Lack of trees has been an issue, and due to lack of tree variation, apparently temperature variation is about 10 degrees Celsius during summertime. So I'll be working with communities as well as authorities to improve infrastructure, to better connect our suburbs. I'll be working with cycling groups and other relevant bodies to have better cycling path. And a couple of speakers have already mentioned that got a first mover advantage. Road congestion is a major issue. Three roads specifically, the Gungahlin Drive, Mirabai Drive, and Gundalu Drive. Congestions are severe. Community is growing, but the infrastructure has not kept pace with the growth of the population. That needs to be fixed. The most important thing that I will be doing, if I'm honored to be your representative, will be working to build a large multi-purpose community center. I'm sorry to say, in my 30 years of community services, volunteering, I have lobbied, me and along many other people, community people, have lobbied the governments of both sides, have lobbied bureaucrats from all persuasion. Everybody felt the need for it, but nobody has done anything about it. This is the first time as a candidate from the ACT Green. I have not only lobbied the Green Party, The first time, to the best of my knowledge, a major political party has announced to develop and build a large multi-purpose community center. I can put myself on the record. With the best of my knowledge, it's the first time a major political party, I'm repeating myself, has announced this to be built in Canberra. I'm not first, whether it's Gungahlin. As the candidate of Yarraby, I would prefer that this should be built in Gungahlin, but if it is somewhere else, we'll have to travel a little bit, still okay.
That's yeah, 4 minutes there, Manu.
One more thing. Another thing we'll be doing is revitalize Yarraby Pond. Thing I'm visualizing, we'll have a lot more water sports, recreational fishing opportunities, an artificial beach, and a lot more food ban option. We will have a multicultural food festival every day of the year instead of one single day. And above all, provide educational opportunities. We'll expand the Gungahlin CIT to provide educational opportunities for people of all ages. Education is key out of disadvantaged situation. And there are about 40,000 people in this area. We need to look after them and need to provide better education facilities. And I look forward to your support, and hopefully we'll see you in the parliament.
Okay, thank you very much, Manu. And our next speaker is Michael Pedersen. Michael is with Canberra Labor.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Michael Pedersen. I'm one of your local members in the ACT Legislative Assembly, and as Peter pointed out, a member of the ACT Labor Party. Before I entered the Legislative Assembly, I worked to protect the workplace rights of local construction workers. I live in Grace, and I love living in Grace. Now, as I'm sure all of you do, I love Canberra. It's this exciting, growing, interesting place to live. As I know, Gungahlin has grown quickly. With that rapid growth, the ACT has been investing in equity and its schools. There are big new schools, like we've invested in healthcare facilities right here in our region. We've built a nurse-led walk-in centre in the town centre, and we built a new hospital over at the University of Canberra for the north side. These are important things that every day Gungahlin residents need to use. But we've also worked to make Gungahlin an even easier place to get around. We built the largest ever infrastructure project in the history of the ACT, which was Light Rail Stage 1. As I'm sure all of you are aware, we've been duplicating roads right across the electorate. And I know it's frustrating living through some of these construction projects, but it's vitally important that we keep doing them. But in recognizing that growth, it's important to point out that the growth isn't over. Gungahlin is still growing, which is why it is so important that we continue to have a government that will invest in our community, continue to invest in education, in health, and in public transport. Now, I'm a little bit, I guess, surprised that we actually haven't talked about what I think is the biggest issue when I talk to Gungahlin residents. When I speak to Gungahlin residents every single day, the biggest concern I hear from them is that they're scared about their jobs. They're scared about their small business, and they don't know when that uncertainty will end. Right now, we're going through a global pandemic. The Australian economy as a whole is essentially running on a federal government program. We need to make sure that Canberrans are not left behind as we try and transition out of the global pandemic and the current economic crisis that we're in. There are some people this election that will tell you that they can freeze government revenue and somehow continue to spend the money that is needed in our community. Right now, more than ever, we need a government that will step up and support Canberrans. That's what we've done here in the ACT. The ACT government experienced the biggest ever budget deficit as a result of the support we're piling into the Canberra community to keep us afloat. And we're going to keep doing it. But people that promise rate freezes, but somehow claim to be able to continue to provide the same level of services, somehow claim to provide more services, are being a bit disingenuous. Right now, we need serious and responsible people in government. That's why I'm running for re-election. I want to continue to provide that stability, that leadership, and that sensibility about how we as a government look after Gungahlin residents.
All right, thank you very much, Michael. Appreciate that. And from one of the majors to one of the minors, Mike Stelzig, are you ready to go? Mike, where are you, Mike? I am giving, trying to give our speakers a chance.
I'm sorry.
Yep. Yeah, I've got you, Mike. You're ready to go.
Okay. Thanks, Peter. Look, the first 4 candidates basically said what I was going to say, so I might as well just go and play some guitar. No, I'm kidding. Look, I got involved in politics because I do not feel that our elected officials are actually working for us. And when I lived in Victoria years ago, Jeff Kennett said, democracy happens once every 4 years. And I don't agree with that. And that's what's happening in the ACT. We have an election every 4 years, and promises are made, and those promises evaporate. So rather than give you all this fluffy stuff about, oh, I have a family and I love Ngunnawal and all these sort of things, I'm going to do a bit of fact checking here and bring everybody down to reality. So freezing rates, great, but we need a proper rate system, properly investigated and vetted so that rates don't continue to skyrocket. Because what will happen is, once you unfreeze the rates, they'll go up again. Secondly, we have 1,600 homeless people in the ACT. I spoke to one just the other week, and he was a nice guy, very sharp. He doesn't smoke, doesn't drink, doesn't take drugs. He got into homelessness through no fault of his own. What's even worse is when he came to the ACT, homeless, he couldn't live anywhere. So a complete stranger gave him a car. Because he now has a car, he can't get into any accommodation because he's expected to sleep in his car. Think about that. We have a shortfall of 3,000 public housing units. Buses have been scrapped to force people onto the light rail. I've had a few older people come to me and complain that they can no longer travel as they used to because bus routes have been scrapped. Children can't access their neighborhood schools. They are expected to go to a school twice the distance to another suburb. Why? We have very unhealthy suburbs. Saro brought out a report, a study in 2017, detailing that the northern suburbs, north of Gungahlin, at night time have between 8 and 11 degrees higher temperatures than in the countryside because of the way we develop and build suburbs. By destroying the fauna and flora, we are creating different microclimates in these suburbs, which is unhealthy. Apart from obviously killing native flora and fauna, we are also, in a way, killing human beings. That's not good. People have really spoken about building a purpose-built police station. I agree with that. What's more important is we have a shortfall of 450 hospital beds in the ACT. We have a lack of specialists, meaning that a lot of people, including me, have to go interstate for treatment. Now, I think that's pretty poor for the capital of Australia. I've been to the Canberra hospital and I was told to go away because they didn't have a hospital bed. My daughter went there and was told, sorry, no beds available. So she spent the night on a stretcher in the emergency room. So I'm kind of asking myself, if we have all these issues with homelessness, a poor health system, poor suburbs, why do we spend $675 million on a nice train, which we probably didn't need? So my role will be to keep the government in check, to make sure we get another hospital in Gungahlin, to make sure that the estate development plans change so that we build ecologically and sustainable suburbs. So that's my commitment to Gungahlin if I'm elected.
Great, thank you very much, Mike. Our next speaker is Suzanne Orr from ACT Labor.
Hello, thank you, Peter, and thank you to the Council for hosting tonight's event. Look, I would like to start by acknowledging that we are meeting on the lands of the Ngunnawal people and pay my respects to their elders past, present and emerging, and also acknowledge all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people who may be joining us tonight. I'd also like to acknowledge all the other candidates here this evening and thank everyone for what has so far been quite a respectful election campaign. I was elected in 2016 and it has been an honour to serve the people of Yarrabee. I grew up in Gungahlin and I now live in Franklin. So I think it's fair to say that Yarrabee is my home, it's my community, and that's what's driven me in the time that I've been in the Assembly, to work with our community to make the difference that we want to see. So long before I entered politics, I got my first job working at the Sizzler in Belconnen, and it marked the start of what was over a decade in hospitality and tourism. Working at a range of places across the ACT. I then was lucky enough to be able to go to both the ANU and the University of Canberra and become an urban planner, which led me to working in the Federal Public Service, which is what I was doing before entering the Assembly. Since being elected to the Assembly, my #1 commitment has been to work with our community to deliver on the action and the real issues that matter to us, to make sure that our diverse and rapidly growing community has everything that we need. Now, I've done quite a number of things working with the community, delivering a new park for Gungahlin. As a few people have pointed out, Kaylin and Gungahlin are part of Yarrabee and very close to my heart. Once a Gungahlanger, always a Gungahlanger. So I've secured more green space for the Gungahlin Town Centre. We also have, as a Labor government, committed to a 30% tree canopy across all of Canberra, knowing that we do have a bit of work up here in Gungahlin to do, and we have already started planting more trees across the Gungahlin area. I've also worked quite closely with the Friends of Grasslands and other members of the Franklin and Harrison communities to have the Franklin Grasslands listed as a nature reserve. And just this weekend past, we had an open day where you could come down and comment on the landscape plan for that area, which will really open it up and make it accessible to a lot of people so that we as a community can enjoy this space and also get in and learn about our grasslands and the very special ecological values that they have. I've also been advocating since the time I've been in the Assembly for a community facility for the Gungahlin Town Centre. And this is a theme that seems to be popping up over and over again. And I was very pleased just on this weekend past to announce that a re-elected ACT Labor government will commit to designing with the community and starting construction on a community centre for the town centre in the next term of government. In my time in the Assembly too, I've also listened to a number of people who have been affected by building defects and advocated for a stronger and fairer regulatory system. And we have seen commitments and changes made. I do believe there's still more work to do, and I would like to continue that. I've also worked with local businesses across Gungahlin and within the government to reduce the impact of single-use plastic. And it was working with local businesses such as Atlas and Sunday in Canberra, up in our town centre, that we were able to roll out a reusable coffee cup scheme across all of Canberra, giving us a choice instead of using a disposable coffee cup to actually get in and use the reusable one, stopping a lot of waste going to landfill. So at this election, Canberrans have the chance to vote for an experienced progressive government, which I'm very proud to be a part of, that will continue to support our entire community, particularly as we continue to experience the significant impacts of the COVID-19 health emergency, as well as all of the recovery efforts that we will have to go through. I look forward to discussing a range of issues that I'm sure will come up tonight and providing the residents of Gungahlin and everyone else listening with ACT Labor's plan for Canberra.
Thank you very much, Suzanne. And we get a couple of minutes back there. Our next speaker is Peter Johnston. Peter, are you ready to go?
Yes, I am.
Great. You're up.
All right. Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you for taking the time to consider what's happening politically in the ACT. This election is a very, very important election. I'm representing the Australian Climate Change Justice Party. We do have a candidate that's based in Bonna, but we haven't announced our candidates to date. We're going to wait until the last week prior to election because we want to save them some of the turmoil, pain of running as a candidate and the difficulties of that. This is an important election because we have really a choice between Labor and Liberal and the possibility of actually bringing an independent minor party candidate forward or an independent true candidate. And to that end, I guess I want to do an introduction to what our party stands for, more particularly how we view politics in the ACT. I just want to check with you that I'm live, Peter. Firstly, thank you, Peter. And I'm alive, the video's going. Yep, great.
Yeah,
all right, look, my respects to, good on you. Firstly, my respects for the traditional owners of these lands, and they include Aboriginal cultures outside of the Ngunnawal people, like the Narrabri tribe. And secondly, the very important foundation of this electorate, which is a multicultural population in the area, which is a very significant, aspiring, hard-working group trying to make a good living and future in Australia. So with those introductions, I think I need to say something very important, which is really the big elephant in the room. Fundamentally, Canberra's been devastated. We've been through COVID. We've now got 25,000 unemployed. We have a government that was going to be in debt before that COVID came along, despite the enormous $6 billion a year budget. On top of that, our small business owners have been backed up against the wall. Many have actually lost their hopes and aspirations in the last 6 months. Many have lost the financial capital that they need to sustain a business going forward. And we now have effectively 25,000 unemployed and probably another 25,000 unemployed. So that is a real issue that is at stake in this election. How do we recover and how do we build a golden era for the Canberra moving forward? If we don't manage that well, we'll be in recession, and thousands and tens of thousands of Canberrans will go so far backward that they'll lose their hopes and aspirations in their life. And many thousands will also lose their houses, because this electorate is made of a lot of young people and families that have purchased houses in the last decade and will have significant mortgages. So yes, we're climate change justice, and effectively climate change is an encompassing existential threat this century. But to actually prepare for the sort of threats like COVID, like climate change, like trade problems with China, like global geopolitical problems and our interstate problems at the moment with borders shutting down, our city needs to become resilient. And to that end, it is absolutely not. We have a $6 billion budget and we're in deficit. The ACT government superannuation is actually not funded. They're in a $4 billion hole. The Labor and the Greens have been profiting substantially from land rates. And what's their solution to this recovery? Go and buy big infrastructure projects that will come from interstate project managers using interstate and overseas materials, and by and large using interstate labour. Now that's billions and billions of dollars worth of projects that won't mature for four to 5 years from now, and we being asked to vote them in to pursue taking our taxpayers' COVID recovery money and throwing them into state and saying there'll be a trickle-down effect. It's an outrageous proposition, and it needs to be really seriously looked at for the families, even the prosperous and middle-class families, that need to recover financially from this COVID situation. So talking about tree planting—
Peter, you're at 4 minutes.
Thank you. So talking about these minor issues is avoiding the reality that a new professional government would need to come in and deal with. We're going to this election to highlight these issues to the Canberra electorate and say, listen, we're in a very serious state as a city. Our candidates are long-term Canberrans. We come across this in a very professional way to deal with the political challenges that we have, and not to focus on small issues. Yes, a community centre is needed, no dramas. Yes, a multicultural centre is needed, no dramas. So we want to present those issues that are quite serious facing us, and it'll determine our future. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Peter. All right, so we come to our 14th and last candidate today, Mohammed Hussain. Are you ready to go? You unmuted. Mohammed Hussain, there we go. Are you ready to go, Mohammed? No, that's a no. All right, well, if Mohammed reappears online. Yep, you're there?
Yeah, thank you, GCC President Peter. My name is Mohammed Munir Hussain. Good evening, and I say Assalamu alaikum. And I'm starting from the point, I'm 62 years old, and I have visited almost 35 country, no, 70 country, 200 city. Meantime, I can tell you, I visit Washington, DC and Canberra. I'm living here 20 years. And Islamabad, I think same architect make it 3 city, I mean capital, and no high-rise building. That is good opportunity. And another is, if I'm elected or not, I have some 6 manifest. So if any government take it, then I will be appreciated, because I'm a Bangladeshi background and I'm involved with the politics 1973. That time I was 15 years old. That time I was the Prime Minister, Captain Mansour Ali, I involved, and I saw that how he started the politics. Then I left overseas for 76. I was in Europe 10 years. I can speak 10 languages fluently and 20 languages mix. And that's, I want to say, everybody say, why you involved with the politics? I'm going, look, I'm a 62 years man and I have a 9 ring in my heart and 6 balloon. But my theory, nothing impossible. So if I want to be some pollution clean like a sky, it was every day 200,000 aircraft running in the sky. Now only less 1%. So pollution is almost better over there because whole life is changed. So COVID-19 is part of our life. It will be go for with us. So that's where the people are going with part of life with the coronavirus. And I have to give, if I not elected, but if any party take my this 6 item, so I'll be appreciated. Like we need more police to the Arabi. If more police, less crime. If you call police come straight away, crime will be reduced. Number 2, we need I'm a heart patient. I went several times in a hospital. If they take me Bruce from Gungahlin, it take 20 minutes. If they take me Warden, 40 minutes, 45 minutes. So sometimes people use, if it is use ambulance, they charge 800, 900 something, too high. In Sydney, 400 something. So that's where sometimes some people use taxi to go hospital. That is most important. And that's where we need in Gungahlin area hospital. I don't know why government make one suburb. Bruce is the 3 hospital, one in a Warden, and 426,000 population in Canberra. They should 4 hospital, left, east, west, north, south. Then people can go easily to catch. So that's in need, this number 2. And number 3, we need a old age care of this area, because I'm 62, maybe another 10 years, I have to go old age care. So if it is Arabi area, so maybe we can go quicker, and our friends, relative, they can go quicker. This is number 3. Number 4, we need one big community center here for like 600 to 800 people or 1,000 people can attend, do some community work, funeral and party and marriage ceremony and everything. Sometimes have a crisis, bushfire or anything, so they can stay over there, shelter home like that. That is number 4. Number 5, the train line from the city line, it should go from Gungahlin to city, then they go NU, then it go Calvary, then UC, then Belconnen, come around to the Gungahlin. At least old people and student, they can use this. Yeah. And the last
that's
one.
4 minutes, Mohammed.
Last one is we need one faster train from Canberra to Sydney. So if it is 4 stop, so if each stop, the area will be developed and people can go they can go to work Sydney and come back 1 hour to there, half an hour, 1.5, and they come back. And that is my reason. And each station will be developed and people can go there to stay there. So this is my idea. If I don't win, but if somebody make it, I'll be appreciated. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much, Mohammed.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you all candidates. I know it's not easy to speak for 4 minutes. Sometimes it seems like a long time. Sometimes it's not enough time, but I do appreciate everyone working hard to keep the time. So I do have a number of questions we received on over the last week. I've had a couple pop up now. If people can either put in the Zoom chat window or use the Zoom raise hand function to ask a question, that would be great. I again remind people it's much easier if you ask questions directed to a candidate or a party, or that can be answered with a simple yes or no question by a party, because otherwise, if you ask for everyone's opinion on every topic, we will be here until midnight. So with that in mind, I'd first like to I know the first question I actually received was, does everybody running for the seat of Yarrabee live in Gungahlin or yet the seat of Yarrabee? And I think the answer to that is pretty overwhelmingly yes. I'm not sure if any candidates don't live in Gungahlin for the seat of Yarrabee or in Yarrabee, which of course includes some suburbs of Belconnen. But I'd like to move on to ask a question of Michael Pedersen on behalf of the current government. Question is from a resident who asks, the current arrangements with drones and their ability to provide services into Gungahlin, is that going to be expanded to more of Gungahlin, to more of Canberra, and what's the government position on drones?
That's yeah, I couldn't find the unmute button. It's you think after all these months of Zoom, I'd have it down by now. It's a really good question for the residents of Crace, Palm, Boston, Allen, Franklin. Some people have been experiencing drone noise over the past few months. I was a member of the Legislative Assembly Committee that inquired into drone use in the ACT. And the big takeaway that I can report back to you from that Assembly inquiry was that at the time, no one was prepared to step up and take responsibility for the regulation of drones. The ACT government would point at the Commonwealth government and say, this is CAS's responsibility, the Civil Aviation Safety Authority. And then the Commonwealth government would equally point back to the ACT government and say, no, this is your responsibility. By the end of that committee inquiry, we'd got to the crux of it, and the Civil Aviation Safety Authority came out and said, we are responsible for the regulation of drones. And it kind of makes a bit of sense when you think about it. The ACT government is a powerful and exciting entity, but we don't control the skies, sadly. The aviation space is definitely Commonwealth authority. Into the, I guess, crux of your question, is this going to expand out into other suburbs? Just speaking quite candidly, I think that is possible. The current operations are operating, I guess, beneath what the current aspirations are from the Google Wing company. I think they've got plans to expand all over the world if they had their way. I think we do need to have a pretty sensible and serious conversation about what drone regulation looks like. Unfortunately, a lot of that regulation has got to be done at the Commonwealth level.
Sorry, I've just been pointed out that I'm on mute. Thank you. Are there any candidates who want to particularly have a quick word on drones, or we're going to leave it at that and move on to the next question? No, we're going to move on to the next question. So the next question is a show of hands question, and I'm going to, I'll read the question, and then could each party or each candidate give me a yes or no. And the question is as follows: if your party were to be elected to government and an application seeking rezoning of the land encompassing the Gold Creek Golf Course were to come before the Legislative Assembly, would your party vote against it? So would you prevent any further rezoning of the Gold Creek Golf Course? Would anyone allow a rezoning to occur? I think James has got his hand up, so I'll let him say something.
Look, yeah, we're committed back at the very start during 2016 when this proposal was put up, and we were the very first to say that we would not commit to and we would not support rezoning of that golf course, and we stay committed to that decision.
Okay. Thank you, James. Did Michael or Suzanne want to have a quick word on that?
I did raise my hand, but I'm still learning how to use that
No,
function.
you're back at the window now.
So yes, look, the current proposal for redevelopment, the ACT Labor government does not support. So I think that's pretty clearly on the record, and we have put that commitment in writing to the Nichols Community Group as well.
Yep. Okay. Thank you. I'm just keeping an eye out for any questions that are coming up. Darren, have you seen any questions come up on Facebook?
Yeah, I've seen a number of questions come up on Facebook. It's been pretty active here. One of the main questions that's come through that I probably need to address, because it was asked numerous times, is a question to the ACT Liberals. How will you manage spending if rates are frozen? It's a fairly general question, but I think that's the crust of that question. But I have a number more, but we'll start with that one.
Sure. Well, look, the Canberra Liberals have stayed very committed that we would freeze rates for a full term, being 4 years. We honestly believe that we're paying the level of rates that we are, and we did say back in 2012 that they would triple, and they have tripled. And if you have a look at the rates revenue that has been brought in since then, it started around the 200 million and now it's over 650 million. So the fact of the matter is it has tripled. Yet services and support from the government has not increased at all. We honestly think that by freezing these rates, it would certainly help families, help with cost of living, relieve some of that pressure that a lot of families are facing. And by this freeze, we're looking at just 0.5% effect to our revenue, 0.5%. Which equates to about $149 million a year. Now, in terms of that, if we have a look at the current government spending, particularly on, and they're quite known for it, studies. One of the studies in particular, the government spent another $80 million on a study on $80,000, on a study that should occur in Casey. That's $80,000 wasted there. They spent another $180,000 on indoor sports study. They also spent another $100,000 on community facilities. There's a lot of waste this government is spending, and there's a lot of areas that we could save this money by this rates freeze. But at the end of the day, it will help family budgets and ease the cost of living pressures.
Okay, thank you, James. All right, I'm going to go back to some of our prepared questions. I have a question here from Tennis ACT, again, directed to the Liberal Party, sorry, and I guess James in particular. As you are well aware, there is a campaign on to gain support for a tennis facility in Gungahlin, which, by the way, has strong support from the Gungahlin Community Council based on resident feedback, and planning is at quite an advanced stage. Does the Liberal Party support the construction of a community tennis facility in Gungahlin?
Look, tennis has lacked facilities right across the territory for some time. I think it's been over a decade since a tennis court has been built. And here in Gungahlin, we just have a couple of tennis courts available. And looking at Tennis ACT's own studies, just to cater with tennis facilities for the community, we're looking at 1 court per 2,000 people. Now, for them to be able to cater for the tennis just in Gungahlin alone, they'll need closer to 50 courts. Now, the current proposal that they put forward includes 12 courts. It's a concept plan. I've met with Tennis ACT several times, and it definitely fits within the Canberra Liberals Find Your Game policy on investing in infrastructure and increasing grassroots participation across all levels. Tennis courts are desperately needed for Gungahlin. There's definitely a lack of them. There's a lack of netball courts. There's definitely a lack of basketball courts and other sporting infrastructure. I would be keen to continue to work with Tennis ACT on their concept plan and to hear more about what they further need, not just here in Gungahlin, but right across the territory.
Okay, thank you. On the notice, thank you, James. Suzanne, I know you've got your hand up. Did you have a follow-up comment, possibly for something a moment ago?
Look, yeah, I'll just go to the tennis question. Look, it is fair to say that the ACT Labor government has been working with Tennis Australia in identifying, Tennis ACT, I should say, sorry, in identifying a suitable site so that they can work up a concept plan. There's been a lot of work gone into it, and we were very pleased a couple of weeks ago to go out with ACT Tennis and unveil the concept plan and put support behind it. As to the funding of the facility, so we can see it progress, ACT Labor will have an announcement imminently on that.
Okay, imminently. Okay, thank you. All right, I'm just get back to my list here. It's interesting. I observed that there's been a lot of consensus on a number of issues: large-scale community centre, aged care facilities, and so on. And I guess I'd be curious as to why, if those things have essentially bipartisan support across all parties or most parties, then why can't they not happen? And so I guess my question goes to how do we make things happen? How do we actually get an aged care facility in Gungahlin? Certainly, there's an area of land, the Gold Creek Homestead site, that's been identified for that, and that's out to market, but that's only one location. Well, what are the mechanisms that the government of the day, which, you know, made up of MLAs, to actually make things happen in Gungahlin? And even when you get cases like we just heard from Tennis ACT, where the business case is extremely compelling, there still seems to be some challenge with actually getting these things done. So perhaps if I could invite the first candidate who puts their hand up to speak to that issue of how do you get things done on getting things like aged care, more aged care facilities, more community facilities. David said, got his hand up, and then Peter, right?
Sounds good, thanks. There's plenty of levers available to the government, things like lease conditions, things like rent subsidies, peppercorn rent. The government does it for Uni of New South Wales to come into Civic. Those options can and should be available to Gungahlin as well. They should be available for aged care. They should be available for indoor sports. They should be available for business in the town centre as well, local businesses, commercial office space. If that's what the community needs, plenty of levers are available.
Thanks. Peter, you got me on?
Yeah, Peter, if you'd like to go ahead, please.
Thank you. Look, this issue of dissecting between what government does in the ivory towers and what we need as a community is really fundamental. It came through with the minor parties forum, and everyone feels it. They've got $6 billion of our money, and they come out once every 4 years to impress us with our new projects. So the solution that we've clarified in our policy statement is to actually divest some of the services that government does back down to the community councils. So the community councils would have a massive injection of public purse money to pursue the needs of their local community down to the suburb and even the street level within their communities. That includes things as essential public services like, you know, mowing the lawns, being in charge of the contracts for the footpaths, dealing with the lighting, identified the aged care facility issues. So the government in the ivory towers isn't there trying to appoint contractors to do reports and then putting out contract tenders to interstate companies to fix them. We'd like to see the community fix them, and that happens through the community councils. So we see a massive investment in the order of $20–30 million per annum initially, and growing in every council in the ACT, and growing as those services are taken up and those services are structured.
Well,
so
that's
thanks,
certainly a radical proposals. Anyone else? Suzanne, I noticed your hands up. Did you want to respond to this issue of how do we make those services happen?
Yeah, look, there's obviously a lot of things across our community that we would like to be able to do. And ACT Labor has done a lot of things this term. We've delivered the light rail, we've improved the road networks, we've delivered the nurse-led walk-in centre, we've built the Margaret Hendry School, we're currently building the Throsby School, and we are expanding the Franklin School as well. We'll continue to do all these things, including building, designing and building the community centre in the town centre, and a range of other things. The important part is that we continue to have the conversation with the community so that we can identify those needs and respond to them.
Just while I've got you, you've announced a community centre in the town centre. Is that also going to be the same as the large community, very large community centre that has been rumoured to be placed at Epic? Or are we talking about one facility or two facilities?
So the community centre for the town centre will be going towards looking at how we can have those spaces for our community to come together and provide those services that we know that a lot of members in our community really rely on and need. So it won't necessarily be a big festival hall. We will have other announcements to make around how we can have those more celebratory spaces. But we are looking at a community centre, and this is partly why we have come out and said that we will be doing this in conjunction with the communities, because we've heard, including from forums such as this one, that the community really wants to be involved in what the final design of the centre is and what goes into that. And we want to make sure that the centre we do build reflects the community's needs and wants. So we'll work with the community to identify those, to finalise a site and to do the due diligence that we need to do on this proposal so that we do get it right and start construction by the end of next term.
Okay, so my key takeaway here is we need to have more elections to get more election announcements, but we'll move on. Darren, do we have any questions from Facebook?
Okay.
Yeah, we have a number of questions. This is from Susie, and this is directed to the Labor Party. How will you improve the planning of Gungahlin? And basically she said, it is under your party that the poor planning of our town centre has flourished, with a focus only on apartments, not bringing businesses out here.
I invite a Labor MLA, we have two, to respond.
Okay. I'm not sure if Michael beat me to the punch here, but I'll jump in. So look, I think it's fair to say that we have seen a lot of change in our town centre. I remember when the town centre was the Raiders Club and Woolworths. It's definitely grown and diversified quite a lot from there. We are starting to see a lot of the smaller businesses come in and a range of other stores as well as we grow the commercial centre that's there. The planning that we do for the town centre is guided by the Gungahlin planning strategy, which we have recently done a refresh during this term of government on. Now I know that there's still some discussion going on around that. That will continue to be incorporated as we move through the many iterations of what our town centre will be. Our city is not static, our town centre is not static, and we will need to continue to look at how we plan for that. Things like the community centre will continue to add to the diversification and the facilities within the town centre, and we'll continue to work with the community to make sure that all parts of Gungahlin reflect the community.
Okay, anything else? Anything else, Darren? Sorry, there was did one of the other candidates want to add to this conversation about facilities?
Yeah, well, can I just
sure.
add in terms of planning, particularly in the Gungahlin Town Centre and diversity? The issue is, we haven't seen any diversity in terms of businesses in the town centre. It's just more of the same, more coffee shops, more cafes, more restaurants and so forth. We need to bring diversity here. We need to talk to professions, to industries, to business types, and to ask them, what do you need? What would you require to come to Gungahlin to set up and to operate your business? Obviously, traffic flow and density and people living in the area, mostly we export our residents. We export them out of Gungahlin. What can we do to bring more people to the Gungahlin Town Centre? Now, obviously, Zed Soldier announced that Defence Housing Australia will be moving out here to Gungahlin, which is great. It's more employment opportunities. We've got the cinema that's finally started after 10 years of inaction. But now we need to look at businesses, right? Well, what businesses can we introduce here that might be able to service, let's say, the DHA department? What other types of businesses can we bring to the town centre and make sure our planning is flexible to do it. We don't need more mixed use facilities in the Gungahlin town centre. We don't need more one level commercial space and then another 5 or 6 levels of residential. You know, we really need to look at what can we do to attract different business and talk with industries. And this hasn't been done, you know, and the only person to blame for this is the Labor government. They've been in power for 19 years now. So every single issue that you face, anyone in the community, any issue that they face is a direct result of this government. Now, if you really do want action, we need to change this government. We need a government that will get focused back on the basics and do what the community expects.
And Andrew Braddock indicated he'd have a quick more rider on this, but again, this is a core issue around town centre and employment. So I'm going to run with a little bit of slack from multiple commentary. So Andrew.
Thanks, Peter. And we definitely don't want to see the amount of space given to commercial operations in the Gungahlin Town Centre East being reduced as proposed by the Labor Party. We would also be very keen to see like digital hubs being encouraged as a place that workers from various different departments or agencies will be able to work within their local town centre rather than needing to commute across the city of Canberra. Also, we'd like to see more community facilities. So, for example, an aged care centre is also quite a considerable employer and would be able to draw on the local community as an employment base for that, instead of people having to commute to other places in Canberra. So that's what we'd like to see as a priority for Town Centre East.
Okay, thank you, Andrew. Look, I might actually ask Michael Patterson to talk about digital hubs, because it was a commitment of ACT Labor at the 26th election to work with the federal government to develop a smart work centre, a smart work hub in Gungahlin. And I have reached out to Michael previously on this, so I was hoping you might be able to give us an update on how that commitment is travelling.
Thanks, Peter. And it's a fair question. In 2016, there was a commitment made in the election platform of the Labor government to create a shared working space in Gungahlin Town Centre for Commonwealth public servants. And it's pretty obvious to everyone that goes into Gungahlin Town Centre that that doesn't exist. I think it's a really good idea. As Mr. Milligan said just recently, Gungahlin's got a genuine problem in that every day people either drive, walk, ride, or catch public transport out of Gungahlin to work, and then they come back in the evening. Fundamentally, we need to make sure that there are employment options available in the town centre. That goes to a bigger question, and I don't want to go down that tangent once we address this very specific question. At the moment, you've got Gungahlin residents that work in public service departments, public service agencies right across the ACT. And it would be, I think, a sensible and easy solution to provide these people a shared working space in Gungahlin Town Centre. I've heard ideas that potentially in a community centre or in one of the new developments in Gungahlin Town Centre, this space could be a possibility. I think it's something that I would like to see come to fruition. I think it's something that all of my colleagues in the Assembly would like to see come to fruition.
I'm going to skip on to light rail. I have a question from John Reynolds for Mr. Milligan, for James. As a Liberal Party representative that was opposed to ACT light rail at the last election, do you now support the expansion of light rail to Woden and beyond, as it has been proven as an economic stimulator for the territory in terms of development? An extension of the network will also benefit Gungahlin residents.
Look, you know, to be honest, light rail is here to stay. The first stage of light rail is now complete, minus the Mitchell light rail stop, of course, which was pulled from the first stage of light rail. But with our lobbying, we recognise that Mitchell does need to be serviced and the light rail stop will be implemented, but at an extra cost of 150 million compared to if they were going to build it in the first stage. Now, the government is at the negotiations and about to start, I take it, on the 2A and 2B of light rail. Those developments will go ahead as they're signed with the contracts. We will not be ripping up any contracts at all. And then post that, with the Canberra Liberals government, will ensure that we do a proper independent business case to ensure whichever route we go through next stacks up, there is a solid business case, and we get to use the light rail route as much as we possibly can. The thing is, we want this light rail track to be a success. We want multiple people using it, not just between 7 and 8:30 of the morning and 4 and 5 in the evening. We need it to be fully commuted throughout the whole day. So we need to do a business case to ensure what can we do to ensure that that happens. And then so any development going forward, we're going to get the best return and have the most effective public transport system that we could have.
Okay, thank you, James. I'm just making sure that we're in good place. I do have Ed Kilstein from Synergy, the Nichols Residents Group, online. Ed, did you want to just follow up your question? No, may have caught him unawares. So we might press on. So
I've just unmuted, Peter.
Good, great, thanks, Ed. Away you go.
Thank you very much. Look, it's just a follow-up question, please, to the Labor representatives. We've got responses now to the specific questions that we asked of all of the parties. And the Labor response speaks about opposition to the current proposal. That was the proposal for rezoning in 2018. But I guess we're curious as to whether that leaves open Labor's support for other rezoning proposals. So I'd just like some further clarification, please, particularly as that seems to be a retreat from your position in 2018.
Thanks, Ed. Sorry, do you mind if I jump in there?
Yes, please.
So so Ed, just to clarify, look, any change that would happen to the golf course, we don't support the current proposal. Any other change would have to be done in consultation with the community and would have to respect the wishes of the community. And I think that's a pretty clear indication that anything that is like the current one would not be getting up. And I know you've been a very strong advocate for maintaining that golf course and maintaining the green space within Nichols. So I think it's pretty clear where the community sits, and that any change probably wouldn't pass the test of making sure that it's supported.
Yep. Okay. Thank you, Suzanne. David Pollard had a follow-up comment on that.
Yeah, thanks, Ed, for coming along. I think what the Nichols group achieved for the golf course was fantastic. The community got together and spoke. When we all came together in the hall at John Paul College there, we had about 600 people gathered there to tell the government and the opposition what you wanted. But it did get to the point where you had to come and tell them. That type of outcome is something that our representatives should be facilitating anyway for all communities, not just the ones who have the passion and the organisation that your group has.
Okay, thank you very much. Look, another one of the questions I had from someone representing a senior citizens community asked a fairly big question and not really Gungahlin specific, but they were seeking support for introduction of voluntary assisted dying legislation for the ACT government. They point out it's wrong for the citizens of 6 states of Australia who can choose such a legislation, but the 2 territories are denied. If you're elected, what will you do? I guess over to you, James or Mike or Andrew. Andrew's got his hand up, so Andrew, away you go.
Well, I'll just start by saying the Greens are very much supportive of territorial rights to be able to legislate in this space. And this is something we've been agitating for quite a while. Also, we support the right for individuals to go through euthanasia according to appropriate lawmaking and processes. And that's something we would support in the territory.
Thank you. Anyone else? Any other candidates feel I need to make a statement on that one? No. Suzanne, is that a yes?
Yeah. Look, if I can just quickly say this has been a topic that in particular our colleague Tara Chain, who's running in Gungahlin for re-election, has really been advocating strongly for this whole term of government. We do need to be able to legislate for our own territory rights here in the ACT, and voluntary assisted dying is one of those ones that unfortunately the federal parliament has not given us the ability to act on ourselves. But we did, as a parliament, we sent a remonstrance, which is essentially a censure motion to the federal parliament. I believe only the second time that's happened from our assembly. So it is an issue that we are taking very seriously, and we would like the ability to have the discussion about doing and to vote within our own parliament on.
Thank you. Now one of the questions that goes to advocacy on behalf of Gungahlin. I think most parties, I think the Liberals are committed to 1 million trees in the next 10 years, which is actually a really large number of trees. I don't know how, a lot of resources to plant that many trees. But there's the current government has a commitment to improving the canopy, and Gungahlin has been identified as the area of Canberra that's most in need of increased canopy. How would any MLA advocate to get more than their fair share of funding to address the shortfall in canopy cover in Gungahlin? So I'm not interested in 30% coverage for all of Canberra. Selfishly, I'm the Gungahlin Community Council president. I'm interested in addressing the shortfall and exceeding it in Gungahlin, including preventing development applications coming forward that propose chopping down trees, which has happened recently. So I know David's got his hand up early, so we'll go with him first and then go to others if they need it.
Sounds good, thanks. So you said, how would we get more than our fair share of funding? It's a simple answer here. The first electorate in Canberra that elects a crossbench will get showered in gold as the government tries to steal that seat back in 4 years' time. You get a local representative who their job is to work for Yerraby. I can guarantee that's how we get more. That's how we get what we need. Gungahlin, obviously, as we've all been saying, needs to be finished and needs to be finished well. So yeah, local crossbench, go for it.
Yep. All right, James, do you? Yep, I noticed your hand up. Good.
Sure. Yeah, look, no doubt everyone has heard about our commitment to plant 1 million trees over the next decade, and that's not just planting trees by government, but that's also using our school system and our children by giving vouchers, using participating businesses and the like. To give people the opportunity to plant a tree, whether it be in their backyard or putting it in a pot and putting it in their front yard. Now, in terms of Gungahlin itself, you look at the area, and yes, we've got a lot of hard surfaces, and we may not have a high percentage of tree cover, particularly in our new suburbs. One thing to blame, and that's planning. The poor planning that we have in our suburbs. They simply do not allow for large trees to be grown in our areas. Look at our nature strips. You look at our front yards and so forth. They're so small you couldn't plant a decent tree. So we're not going to get great tree coverage compared to our older suburbs. So poor planning. So what we'll be focused on is any further planning of suburbs, not just in Gungahlin, but right across the territory, that we now allow adequate space for tree cover, for adequate space in our nature strips and reserves and so forth for large trees. Because that's the only way you're going to be able to do it. To retrofit the poor planning of this government to then be able to put in a big tree to be able to provide enough shade just isn't going to happen.
Okay. I've got a few candidates with their hands up, so I'll try and get to these. So I noticed Mike Stelzig, you've had your hand up for a little bit. Did you want to address this or something else?
Well, I put my hand up before regarding assisted suicide, but right. I just wanted to say that I know we are a territory. We don't have the same rights as a state. However, if we don't have that particular right to determine our own lives, same with abortion and those sort of topics, then we might as well join New South Wales or go the other way, go to Victoria. Yep. So yes, I think we definitely should have a say in the matter because it's us we're talking about.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Mohammed Hussain had a specific comment. Are you there, Mike? Mohammed? You'll need to unmute. Yep.
Yeah, because this Gungahlin area should be like second capital. I've seen a lot of capital city. They have two cities. One is the first city, one is the second capital. In case have any problem, the city or something, then second capital can run to help people to this. And my theory is nothing impossible. And the aged care, this one is have to be do Labour, Liberal, Green, or any party. When we born, we are kids. Then we children. Then we adult. Now we are 60, 70. Then after we have to go aged care. For this region, everybody have to be together work for the aged care, because I'm now 62, maybe in 10 years I have to go there. So that is my question. Thank you very much.
Okay. Michael Pedersen, I notice your hand is up. Are you still chasing a spot to chat?
Yeah, I just want to talk to trees very briefly. ACT Labor's got a commitment to a 30% tree canopy, which in terms of numbers probably looks about 450,000 trees for the ACT. Our promise is that we will actually deliver those trees. We're not going to fudge the numbers and just hand out trees and say that they're going to count. We understand that planting trees actually requires work, and you need to plan for it, and you need to pay for the cost of trees and the maintenance. Anyone that wants to come in here and say that handing out pot plants to kindergarten kids is somehow going to result in productive and well-placed trees across the ACT is just not being straight up honest with you. Now, the other thing that I'd say is that your key focus, Peter, was that you want to see more trees in Gungahlin, and I agree. The heat island effect across Gungahlin can be pretty intense. Gungahlin needs more trees. What I would recommend for the many avid and dedicated Gungahlin residents here, there's a ACT government website, Have Your Say. Just Google it, Have Your Say, tree planting in the ACT, and you can suggest yourself places to plant trees right across Gungahlin. We want your feedback. We want to plant trees in Gungahlin. We need you to tell us where you want them.
Okay, thanks very much. And Manuel Hock has got his hand up as well. Manuel. Searching for that on mute.
Yeah, what is that?
There you go. Yep, you're good.
Few things, Peter, I wanted to say. First of all, the issue about the Gold Creek golf course, definitely do not support that. We need more open space for the community and for the community use, by the community use, for the community use. Second issue, we have been talking about more than an hour. Not many people have talked about the fundamental issue that's the menace in the society, domestic violence. That's the fundamental issue in our society, and the COVID has further increased this issue and further exaggerated this domestic violence menace. And government of all persuasion need to work hand in hand to address this issue. One of the we need to go to the root of the cause, not the symptom. The most often domestic violence stems from mental health issues, and community as a whole need to address that. And some of the initiatives that we proposed, one of them is Yarapi Pond revitalization. If it happens, what you talked about before, building open space stays, many mobile food vans, we will have options for people to come together as a group, as a community, as an individual, as a family, in open space, interact with other people. That will alleviate some of the mental stress issues and will help in some extent in addressing the mental health issues, in addition to other things that we need to do. So we need to address mental health as well as domestic violence issues that we haven't talked about. Another thing nobody has talked about, families are stressed through COVID impact. There are 7 suburbs in Yarabi that are mortgage stressed due to lost income as well as reduced hours of income through their jobs and job keeper package. So we need to address that. How do you address that? Through employment creation. So all nice and good that Seselja has been able to, well, it hasn't happened yet, but promised the defense housing facilities is coming. But we need to work more on bringing jobs and support for small businesses. Let's be realistic. Not many corporations are coming here.
Yeah, I think, again, most speakers have suggested that we need to bring more businesses to Gungahlin. We need to diversify. What I've not heard from anyone is how they would go about that. I know the approach has been, we've put out blocks of land and no one wants to buy a 5,000 seat office block for a government agency because none of the agencies want to move here. And I'd like to see candidates come up with something a little bit more creative than, well, the market's failed us. I think we need to tilt the market. So if any of the candidates have some views on how they can drive that, that would be great. So I'll just park you for a moment and see if there are any others who actually want to offer up some concrete ideas on that. Okay, just a second, James. Mohammed, you had your hand up quickly. Very quick answers, please. We're running out of time. Yep. You're muted still, Mohammed. You're still muted. We'll come back to you, Mohammed. James, did you want to say something?
Yeah, just as I indicated earlier today when I was talking about, this evening when I was talking about business diversity, it's about speaking with industry, it's about speaking with different professions to find out what do they need to come here, to establish, to set up or to move to the territory. We have science, technology, innovation. We should be looking into these industries and saying, all right, what can we do to support you to come here? Look at the land zoning, making sure that the land zoning can allow for it. If it doesn't allow for it, let's change it. Let's make sure that they can come here. Let's talk to industry professions and see what it is that we can do to bring them here.
Okay, so talking and zoning. Anyone else on that one? Mohammed, if you want to be quick. I see you, Andrew, as well, and Michael. You've got to unmute, Mohammed. Not one, two.
Now here.
Okay, go.
Yeah, because at the moment COVID-19 is everywhere, whole world. I think 185 countries attack, but online business in Australia, I think 35% increase. Like David, office work, came.
Can you make sure in the time available you address the issue of attracting business to Gungahlin?
Yeah, I mean, so if it is people, job seeker, job keeper, if government help them, certificate 1, certificate 2, 3, 4, online to train, then they can people work from the home, and people, husband and wife, live together. If have 2 kids, then no need to send childcare. Sometimes husband can drop the kids, pick up in the wife, so less cost, less hassle, and maybe the big store they will close because at the moment 35% increase the online business. So if it is people take the opportunity to learn certificate 1, 2, 3 through the center link who giving, taking job seeker, job keeper, it will be help. That
Okay,
is
more training.
Thank
you.
Andrew,
you had a comment here?
Yeah, I think we need to be more creative about how we're charging rent for those lands in terms of the outcomes we're achieving for the Gungahlin district in terms of can we do peppercorn rents and so forth. I also think the community sector is a really big employer that we could utilise. For example, an aged care centre is also a large employer of nurses and cooks and cleaners and all a variety of other employment as well.
Okay. I think, Michael, you were after a response.
Yeah, thank you. And it's a really important question. I mentioned it before, but seemingly Gungahlin residents drive out of Gungahlin every morning and drive back every evening. We want people to work in the town centre. And there's 2 main types of employment that people really talk about when it comes to improving Gungahlin town centre. There's the often talked about getting of Commonwealth public service departments or agencies moved into Gungahlin town centre. That is one good solution. The ACT government a few years ago moved Access Canberra to Gungahlin town centre to try and stimulate the area, and we've just recently seen an announcement from the Commonwealth government to move defence housing to Gungahlin. Both good, but not, yeah, it's fine, but it's not ultimately the big solution that we really want to see for Gungahlin town centre. Now, just being quite candid, the Commonwealth government at the moment is more likely to discuss decentralisation of public service agencies as opposed to relocation within Canberra. You're more likely to see a government agency disappear from Canberra and pop up in some regional electorate somewhere. So I think hoping for a Commonwealth public service agency to move to Gungahlin isn't particularly helpful. So the next question is, how do we get business, private enterprise to open up, take up some of this space in Gungahlin? Well, we need to make Gungahlin a good place for them to choose to open an office. We've connected Gungahlin to the city with light rail, got high-speed broadband. It is on paper an attractive place to do business. what we need to do is make sure that everyone that is looking to build a business looks to Gungahlin first. And we also need to make sure that our local economy is growing. If our economy is growing, people are opening businesses, that is how we're going to get people to utilize. And at the moment, just being quite candid once again, the desire for office space has absolutely plummeted. I don't know when that will recover, if it ever does. So we really need to keep pressing this issue, something that I believe is fundamentally important to the ongoing longevity of Gungahlin as a healthy and vibrant district. So it's good that this is a centre point of discussion, because it isn't going to be fixed immediately. It's going to be an ongoing issue. And I think everyone here wants to see it addressed.
Okay, thank you, Michael. Yep, I see some. Darren, I'll come to you in a second. I've got Henley. Would you like to ask your question?
Yeah, thanks, Peter. My question is to James Milligan. Hey, James. I just want to see if you guys come to the power, how effectively you're going to interact with the multicultural community, because at the moment, what I can see, Greens, Labor government did not engage with multicultural community regarding the gender bill, and also they made the illegal drugs legal. So some of the sensitive issues with the multicultural community has been ignored, and I feel like they've been discriminated. So how do you guys handle these ones?
Look, we've made a concerted effort this term to ensure that we connect with anyone from the multicultural community, all cultures, all religions, all beliefs. They are important to our community. They contribute a lot, and they definitely need to be represented. Now, currently, just recently, I had an intern, Kanak, who worked in my office. Now, I gave her a project to go out and speak with the multicultural community here in Yerrabi, just to find out from them what would they like to see, particularly in community facilities, and what are the requirements that they need to be able to run their faith, to be able to run their events the way that they would traditionally. From that report, that has gone towards developing an initiative going forward, which will certainly come out in due course and then make an announcement in this space. We have quite a diverse team. We have a diverse party, people from multiple different faiths, religions and beliefs. We value everything that they contribute, and we make sure that we include that in anything that we develop going forward. We also have many candidates from multiple faiths, Jacob and Krishna in particular here. I think it would be a good opportunity for Jacob or Krishna to also speak briefly on this. So I won't take up too much time, but we have Jacob, we have Krishna, we have Casey Lamb, we have Robert Johnson, all from different backgrounds and faiths. So I'll be happy if Jacob or Krishna would like to speak.
Hi, Hanley, thanks for bringing this question and to address that. And definitely we need a multicultural community hub, or it is to build the networks. It is we need to break the barriers of this cultural isolation. That's something we need to create a vibrant society here. For that, the facilities we are talking about, and that is just not a community hall. That type of setup we'll be bringing. And it is not only the cultural activities, the sports and cultural activities. We need to build that networks and bringing more facilities here into Gungahlin that will help. The communities are interacting together, and the multiculturalism is taken care of. Means that individual cultures are respected, and at the same time they are creating an atmosphere for inclusiveness and participation into other communities. I think that is something you are looking for.
Yeah, I just wanted someone to, interact with the multicultural community before they come up with the crazy, bills and stuff. So At the moment, I run a big community myself, and we all felt very discriminated. And this was raised by 28 other communities as well, but we didn't receive any response from the government.
Well, the government certainly talks a lot about inclusion, but we don't see them actually delivering on that. And that's one thing that we're really proud of, is that we make every effort whatsoever to speak to anyone from the community, from any race or religion or belief. And we have a great example of candidates that showcase exactly that.
Yeah, I just want to. Hi, Henley.
Yep.
Henley, thanks for that question. Like, I mean, it's really important, as you know, that I acknowledge that there's a huge multicultural community in this electorate in Gungahlin area, and it's growing, and we need to acknowledge that, and we can do more in that space to incorporate and to bring them together. The multicultural community, whether it's a Hindu community or Sikh community or Christian community or Muslim community, we have a large community group, and then we can do more in that space, not just confined to building a community center. I think we need to have a kind of a festival kind of thing, you know, to bring all the communities together, and we can have an annual festival, that sort of thing, to bring that groups together. So we can do more in that space, a lot of discussion, consultation, and we can do it in a cohesive way. And definitely, I mean, I'm more than happy to take initiative in bringing together the community.
Okay,
yeah.
Thank you very much, Jacob. So Darren, I think I'm going to ask you to give us your summary of the questions from Facebook.
Yeah, there's quite a number of questions. I'm sorry that we may not get to all of them, but I do appreciate. There's two questions that are linked here, and it's a law and order question. First one is sort of open to the ACT Liberals, and the second one was directed to Michael Patterson. I'll get to that one in a second. The first question was increasing, this is from Georgia, increasing police numbers in Gungahlin is the only way to keep our suburbs safe from crime. There's a comment there that it is in fact on the rise. What plans do the ACT Liberals have for this?
Well, it's known that the ACT has the lowest police per capita in Australia. In Australia, it's a disgrace. You know, crime is increasing, particularly out here in Gungahlin and even in our new suburbs. There's a lot of theft, burglary, and even assault that is occurring out here. What we need to do is put on more frontline police officers. And my colleague, Julia Jones, has done a lot of work in this space, has worked with ACT policing to work out, well, what do we need to do and how many more frontline police officers do we need to bring on? And that's what we need to do, bring on frontline police officers, not put more money into the administration or management of the Department or Directorate. We need to bring on more frontline police officers. So we will be coming out and making an announcement on this in due course. And it's something that needs to happen to combat crime. We need more police to be seen out on the beat, to be seen out in the street to deter this crime. And let's be honest, most of the crime that we see here is opportunity crime.
Okay, thanks, James. I am getting brutal because I know we're over time. We're just trying to bang through some ones quickly. So I'm not going to get too much comment. That was a direct question to the Liberals. Darren, you had a question from Michael Patterson?
There was a question here from Jessica to Michael, which is, why has Labor failed to upgrade the Joint Emergency Services Centre? Will you address this if re-elected?
Thanks. It's a really good question. It's something that's come up a few times tonight. There's currently a feasibility study taking place into the Police Needs and Operations Centre. When you speak to each of the different, I guess, for lack of a term, tenants, users of that centre, they all kind of express very similar frustrations that the services they want to provide are getting inhibited by that shared space. We've got a feasibility study out. We want to support local police, and it's something that I'm looking forward to hopefully having a better and more fulsome announcement for everyone in good time. Okay,
Darren, any other burning issues on Facebook that we can answer quickly?
Christy was asking, it appears the ACT Liberals, when will there be a special needs primary or high school. There are currently none in Gungahlin.
Special needs primary school,
Or it seems high school.
More needs.
Mm.
Does
it was to the ACT Liberals?
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. Back in 2016, we had a policy focused around providing a school for kids with autism. Sadly, ACT government hasn't really invested into our schools to provide the right support and structures and services to combat and to cater for kids with special needs. My colleague Elizabeth Lee has been making numerous announcements this week, particularly in the education space. She just announced that we'll be investing in 50 new librarians, which would certainly help for learning and research. She just announced today about Year 3 wellbeing to help our Year 3 students live a happy and healthy schooling experience. But Elizabeth has been working with a lot of the special needs organisations out there in the community. I know she's been working towards developing some initiatives to help support these students at school, but also students at homeschooling. So I would suspect and expect that Elizabeth will be coming out in due course with what the Canberra Liberals will do to help support children with special needs.
Okay, thank you, James. Darren, I like I say,
I'm trying to fire off as many
answers.
as possible. This one is from Desmond to Suzanne at Labor Party. When are you going to fix car parking at Yarrowby Ponds? There was even a comment about police vehicles parked in mobility car parks.
Thank you. We will be looking and having some announcements on traffic policy and on road policy and transport policy in general. So please, I would like to give you a specific answer tonight. I know that is something that we need to work on down at Yarrowby Pond. I've spoken to a number of people there, but stay tuned. We will have an announcement shortly.
Okay, this is the disadvantage of having a forum early in the election cycle. Not only we don't know exactly who the candidates are, some of the issues are still emerging. Darren, I'm just conscious of making sure the rest of the online community get a chance.
There was Bethany, Desmond, sorry, was asking Bethany, how many hospitals does Canberra need? Can we not expand existing facilities? What about children's oncology?
How many hospitals does Canberra need? Well, I think we should. Well, I think we should have enough for the. I think the North Side needs one. I think Tuggeranong needs one. Obviously, it comes down to funding. Can we afford all these hospitals? But I definitely think that the Gungahlin region needs one to start with. So I can't say how many hospitals Canberra needs. What was the other question? Sorry, Darren.
There was another.
Children's oncology.
Yeah, children's oncology was what about children's oncology, for example? Could that not be expanded?
I don't know. I'm not a health in the health industry, so I'd have to look more into it. Sorry.
That's okay. As I said, that's how it was written. So.
Okay. All right, Darren, are you done with yours? Because I think Henley's got his hand up here, so I'm going to quickly go to Henley. Then we'll get back to Facebook and call it quits. So Henley, did you have one, or have you asked it?
Peter, I just have a question regarding the roadworks and stuff. Regarding the duplication of the R-Spot drive, is there any plan, any political party proposing to, have a R-Spot drive completely duplicated from the start of the KC to the end of the, the Bona at the moment? It's not been duplicated, so I just want to double check.
Road infrastructure planning, David?
So I've been, roads is one of the big issues that keeps getting raised with me. So I've been collating all the different roads that intersections that people are having problems with. Horse Park Drive duplicated all the way is something that a lot of people are requesting. And then Clary Hermes as well. That whole area, Gungahlin Drive, Clary Hermes, Horse Park Drive. The congestion there in the morning and afternoon is significant. So yeah, that is an area that I want to look at. Not committing to a duplication at this stage, but it's definitely on the list to look at. The other big one is there's a few areas in Mitchell, Sanford Street. There's sections there that can be duplicated. In fact, it used to be 2 lanes along it. And then for some reason, they got rid of one of them and put in a 2 metre wide bike lane along there. The bike lane is, somebody was showing me and they were actually driving along fully contained in the bike lane. And the town centre, almost every entrance and exit to the town centre, people have a problem with. It seems to be whichever direction you live in from the town centre, that's the intersection that gives you the most grief. But basically every way in and out of the town centre has been identified as a problem. So as we finish Gungahlin, I want to actually take a step back and look at the bigger picture that is roads and traffic, and not with a view to, you know, I know that there are moves to take us away from a car-dependent Canberra, and that's all well and good. But today we are a car-dependent Canberra, so we need to relieve those pressures that are hitting us right now.
Peter,
Right.
can I just say a couple of things on roads?
Yep, I'm sort of trying to wind up with a 10-minute overrun. So yep, go.
Yeah, I will be brief, but 19 years of Labor and Greens. Gungahlin is what, close to 25 years old. This region. Here's the thing: the government knew, and they had the plans back then on what suburbs were going to be developed. They knew how many residential dwellings there were going to be. They knew what the population growth was going to be, but they didn't plan for it. They didn't build the road infrastructure to plan for it. It's simply a lack of planning. Look at Mirabai Drive, for example. They duplicated one side of the road and left the other side a single lane and said, oh, the study doesn't stack up. We didn't need to duplicate it now. It's simply a lack of priorities by this government. You know how many traffic lights there are from Casey to the airport? There's 11 traffic lights, and they're sequenced poorly. So you can't just get a straight run all the way through. So what the Canberra Liberals are doing is we have been working quite extensively over the last 2 years, putting together a whole list of road infrastructure that is poorly done, poorly designed, poorly laid out right across Yerrabi. We're going to come up and announce a proper roads plan for Yerrabi to fix up all these mistakes.
Okay. I'm looking for a candidate to have a final say on roads. Pretty popular topic. Mohammed, just very quickly, you got 30 seconds.
And now you can hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. You know that Japan is a less crime there. If you lost wallet or anything, 90% they're getting a return because everywhere they put CC camera. If you put more CC camera around the whole Canberra, so crime will be raised and the people will be happy because they can find easy to who did, who happened, what's happened. So everywhere CC camera, then it will be more beautiful city. We can compare with the Tokyo. Thank you.
All right. Well, that's a food for thought. Look, I am going to call it now. We're 10 minutes over time, and I know there'll be lots of people who are looking for something to eat or something to drink or something to drink or something to drink. But look, I would like to thank all of those residents of Gungahlin who've contributed to the formation of our expectation document. I'd encourage all of the candidates to digest that and think about how they might respond. But I particularly want to thank all the candidates for coming out. These are very difficult forums to give everyone an equal share of time or something that resembles an equal share of time. And I really appreciate the discipline you've shown to make it a good forum. We've had some good feedback already. I'd really encourage all the residents who are listening in to stay engaged with the election process. There are many more forums. There's you'll see lots of announcements made, but I do encourage you to go along to more forums like the one David mentioned with other independents are going to be there to really get out and press the flesh of the candidates and give them something to relate to what our expectations are of them in terms of advocacy and accountability for our votes. And ultimately, that's how we drive outcomes in this town and in this district. Again, thank you all to members of the executive supported us. And again, thank you to the candidates for coming out and supporting us. Thanks very much. Good night.
Good night. Have a good sleep.
Thanks,
Hey
Dave.
guys.
Bye-bye.